I always believed families were supposed to love you by default. I believed loyalty was inherited, that affection was some unspoken promise sealed the moment you were born. But the truth? My family taught me something else, something far colder. They taught me that love can be rationed, handed out like scraps. And growing up, I was always the one left hungry. I still remember the night it hit me, the night I understood that everything I would build from that moment forward would come from one thing: revenge. Not the chaotic, destructive kind. No. My revenge would be quiet, elegant, deliberate. I wouldn't destroy their world. I would simply build one where they no longer existed. And so, here I am, standing in the middle of what would one day become a billion-dollar export empire, remembering the exact moment I chose to rise. But before I get too far, let me take you back. Let me tell you about the beginning, about the girl they ignored, dismissed, pushed aside. "Samantha, stop talking so loudly," my mother used to snap at me. "You're embarrassing your sister." Even in my memories, I feel my stomach tighten. I was 12. She was 16. She shined like a golden trophy they themselves polished every day. I, on the other hand, was the fingerprint they wiped off repeatedly. During school events, everyone saw it. My mom clung to my sister's arm, praising her trophies. My dad bragged about her grades, even when mine were higher. And me? I stood behind them, smiling, pretending I didn't hear the whispers. Poor Samantha, always second place. She must be used to it. But I wasn't used to it. I was just quiet. Quiet is not the same as resigned. And on my sister's wedding day, the wedding I funded when I could barely afford my own groceries, I stood in the back of the ballroom, wearing a dress I bought on discount, watching her twirl under crystal chandeliers. My mother didn't even ask if I ate. My father didn't even look for me. And my sister? She saw me. She smiled. But it wasn't gratitude. It was triumph. The kind of smile that said, "Even now, I'm above you." That night, as I walked home in heels that blistered my feet, I whispered to myself, "One day, you will regret this." I didn't know when. I didn't know how. But I felt the shift. A cold, steady fire settling into my bones. That was the night my revenge began. People always ask me how I became the woman I am today. How I built a multi-million-dollar export company from scratch. How I survived on 3 hours of sleep for years. How I kept going when every door I knocked on slammed in my face. But the truth is simple. I learned to survive early. I had to. My family trained me for it. I still remember one Thanksgiving, years before everything fell apart. I was 16. My sister was 20, home from college, glowing as always, adored as always. I walked into the house holding a pie I baked myself. I was proud of it. I wanted them to be proud too. But the moment I stepped into the dining room, I heard my mother's voice. "Oh honey, look what your sister made," she said, practically singing, lifting the pie my sister bought from a store. My father chuckled. "Of course she did. She's the talented one." And me? My pie was still warm in my hands, untouched, unmentioned. I whispered, "Mom, I made." But she cut me off. "Samantha, don't interrupt. We're talking." That was the first time I felt something break inside me, not a snap, not a scream, more like a slow tear, quiet but deep. That night, I cried in the bathroom, pressing a towel against my mouth so no one would hear. I told myself, "It's okay. Just try harder." I kept telling myself that for years. When my sister graduated, my parents threw her a massive celebration, hotel venue, catered food, flowers everywhere. I congratulated her genuinely, I was proud of her excellence. But I couldn't ignore the hollow feeling in my chest as people kept asking me, "When will you do something impressive like your sister? You should follow her example." And my sister, God, she would hug me and whisper in my ear, "Don't worry, Sam. Not everyone is meant to shine." I always laughed to hide the sting. Yeah. I know. But I didn't know. I didn't know why she needed me smaller. I didn't know why my parents allowed it. I didn't know why I began believing them. Fast forward a few years. We were adults by then. She had a husband and a picture-perfect life. I had nothing. No support. No praise. Just a job that barely paid, and dreams I kept buried under exhaustion. One night at dinner, she leaned across the table, smirking. "Sam, how's your job? I heard they cut your department." Again. My father laughed like it was a joke. My mother sighed dramatically. "Maybe you should ask your sister for advice," she said. "She knows how to succeed." I wanted to scream. I wanted to stand up and shout, "I'm not a failure." But my voice stayed trapped behind my ribs. I forced a smile. "I'll figure it out." My sister tapped my hand like she pitied me. "You always say that." That night, I realized something. I was waiting for them to see me. To validate me. To love me the same. And they never would. So, I made a promise to myself. Stop waiting. Start building. My revenge didn't start with anger. It started with desperation. Survival. Empty pockets and a heart full of loneliness. I took every online business course I could find. I watched videos at 3 a.m. while working 2 side jobs. I researched export markets with a cracked second-hand laptop. I still hear myself whispering during those nights. "Come on, Sam, keep going. Keep breathing. Keep fighting." I made my first business call at 2:47 a.m. I was shaking so badly I almost dropped the phone. "Good evening," I said, pretending to sound grown and confident. "This is Samantha Reyes from Reyes Global Exports." The man on the line sounded confused. "Are you a student?" I lied smoothly, with a trembling voice. "No, sir. I'm the founder." When that call ended, I sat on my bed and whispered. "You started. You can't stop now." I always thought success would feel warm, comforting, like sunlight finally landing on skin that's only known cold. But when my company finally took off, when our first $1 million flowed in, when our products reached 5 different continents, something unexpected happened. My family suddenly remembered I existed. I still remember that moment vividly. My phone lit up with a call from my father. I stared at the screen, whispering to myself, "After all these years, now you call?" I answered anyway. "Samantha," he said, his voice soft in a way it never was when I was a child, "your mother and I heard your business is doing very well." I kept my voice steady. "Yes. We've grown." He cleared his throat. "That's good, that's very good. Listen, your sister's husband, he's facing some setbacks. We were wondering if you could help them with a small loan." My chest tightened. They didn't congratulate me. They didn't ask how I was. They didn't even pretend to care. Straight to the request. Straight to her. I whispered, "How much?" He gave the number. It wasn't small. Not even close. But I agreed. Because back then, I still wanted to be loved. I still wanted approval that would never come. The money flowed out of me like water through cupped hands. Her online business? I funded it. My parents' bills? I covered them. My sister's luxury expenses? Somehow, I paid those too. Every month, the requests grew larger, the gratitude grew smaller, and their sense of entitlement grew monstrous. And whenever I visited their house, my sister looked at me with that same familiar glitter of jealousy, like my success offended her personally. I'd narrate it like this. "Oh wow, Sam," she'd say, fake smiling. "You finally have money. Must be nice to not struggle all the time." She always said it with a half laugh, pretending it was a joke. And I'd respond quietly, "It wasn't luck. I worked for it." She'd roll her eyes. "Everyone works, Samantha. You're not special. I confronted them the next day. I had to. Otherwise, the silence would have drowned me. I walked into their house, the house I helped keep afloat financially, and the moment my sister saw me, she rolled her eyes. "Oh please, Sam, don't make this a big deal." I narrate the scene like it's burned into my bones. I stood in the living room, voice shaking. "Why did you exclude me?" My mother sighed, annoyed. "Samantha, we told you. It was a small dinner." "A small dinner with a photographer?" I snapped. "A small dinner with decorations and a catered setup?" My sister scoffed. Her husband looked away. And then she said it, the sentence that sliced straight into me. "It was better without you." I couldn't breathe. My vision blurred. My mother raised her hands defensively. "Samantha, don't start. Your sister is under stress." I whispered, "And I'm not?" My father muttered quietly, not meeting my eyes. "We didn't think you'd mind. Didn't think I'd mind. Didn't think I'd feel. Didn't think I mattered." I nodded slowly, my voice barely stable. "Thank you, for finally telling me the truth." My mother frowned. "What truth?" I whispered, "That I was never part of this family." And then I turned around. And walked out. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't break. I simply walked away. And that was the moment. The exact moment. My revenge turned into resolve. You know how people say there's a moment in your life where everything sharpens? Where suddenly the fog clears, the excuses evaporate, the illusions collapse? For me, that moment came as I walked out of my parents' house after being told I made Thanksgiving better by not being there. I didn't run. I didn't rush. I didn't stumble. I walked, slow, steady, breath shaking but spine straight. And the whole time, one sentence kept repeating itself in my head. "You've been funding the life of people who wouldn't even give you a seat at their table." By the time I reached my car, my hands were trembling so violently I had to grip the steering wheel just to stay grounded. I whispered to myself, voice cracking, raw. "No more. No more. No more." For the first time in my life, the anger didn't suffocate me. It fueled me. That same night, I made the decision that would change everything. I sat at my desk, opened my laptop, and began writing the emails. My narration becomes steady here, because I remember every keystroke. "Dear Mom and Dad. Effective immediately, I will no longer be covering your bills, utilities, or lifestyle expenses. This will be my last month of support." My fingers shook. Not from guilt. From liberation. Next email. To my sister. "I am withdrawing from all financial support for your household and your online business. Any pending transactions will be halted immediately." I paused. For years, she'd made me feel insignificant. Like I was a backup plan. A wallet. A convenient shadow. I whispered as I typed the final words. "This is not punishment. This is me choosing myself." I sent the emails. Then I turned off my phone and sat in silence, breathing in the new atmosphere of my life. It felt like stepping out of a burning house I didn't realize I'd been living in. The very next morning, I texted my team group chat. "We're hosting our own Thanksgiving this year. All of you. Your spouses. Your kids. Our partners. Our investors. Everyone. If I've never had a real family, then we'll build one." Leon responded first. "Wait, Sam, like, a big one? A real event?" I laughed, an actual laugh, not the polite kind. "Yes, Leon. A real one." Dana replied almost instantly. "Sam. We've been waiting for you to do something like this. Tell us what you need." I leaned back in my chair, whispering with a smile. For the first time in my life, I'm choosing who I share a table with. We chose an exclusive events pavilion that overlooked the city skyline, glass walls, warm lighting, and a wide terrace that caught the evening breeze. The moment I stepped inside with the event coordinator, she said, "Miss Samantha, what ambience do you want?" I smiled softly. Warm. Golden. Like the family I never had, but finally found. As I narrate this, I can still picture the workers stringing lights across the ceiling, delicate and soft, like constellations forming just for us. I walked through the space, touching the wooden tables that would soon hold our feast. I whispered to myself, "This is mine. My life. My choice." The catering team approached me next. The head chef, a tall man with silver hair and tired eyes, asked, "Miss Samantha, any preference for the menu?" I smiled. "Yes. Make it rich. Make it elegant. Make it something that says, I built all of this with the hands they said were meant for nothing." He laughed warmly and bowed his head. "Then that is exactly what we will serve." Around midnight, while the event staff continued decorating the venue, my phone buzzed. It was my cousin, one of the few people in my extended family who ever treated me like a human being. I answered, whispering, "Hey, what's wrong?" She exhaled slowly. "Sam. I don't know how to tell you this, but..." My stomach tightened. "Your parents are hosting another Thanksgiving party tomorrow." I closed my eyes. "Of course they are. Sam, they told everyone you were busy, and that they didn't want to bother you." I laughed bitterly. "They didn't invite me." Again. "I know. I'm sorry. I just didn't want you to find out through someone else." I leaned against the balcony railing of the venue as the workers continued placing centerpieces behind me. "It's okay," I whispered. "I'm not hurt this time." But then I felt my voice tremble, betraying the truth. "I'm just, finally done." My cousin hesitated. "You deserve better, Sam." I swallowed hard. "I'm creating better." When I ended the call, I turned back to the venue. The decorators were adjusting the gold ribbon accents. The florists were arranging white lilies and roses. The sound team was testing soft music that echoed like a heartbeat. I walked into the middle of the room and breathed in deeply. "This is what love feels like," I whispered. "Not blood. Not obligation. This. People who choose you." I watched as the chandeliers dimmed to a warm honey glow. Candles were placed along the tables. The chef's team brought in massive trays of marinated meats, fresh vegetables, handmade pastries. The stage crew set up the podium where I would speak for the first time as a woman reborn. The event coordinator approached me again. "Miss Samantha, everything will be perfect by morning." I nodded. "Thank you, truly." I walked to the center of the room and whispered to myself, "Tomorrow, I will celebrate with the family I built. Tomorrow, I will take back my life. Tomorrow, I rise." I take a slow breath as I stand just outside the garden venue, the morning air still crisp, the sunlight not yet fully stretching across the lawn. This is it, I tell myself. The morning of the celebration. The Thanksgiving that wasn't borrowed, wasn't forced, wasn't shared with people who only pretended to care. This one is mine. I walk toward the main entrance, and as I do, I hear movement inside. My team is already bustling around. I smile. "I see you all beat me here," I narrate with a soft laugh, though the moment I step inside, they look at me like they've been waiting for instructions since dawn. "You're early, boss." I hear one of my managers call out, though remember, I'm the only narrator, so it's me describing it, he shouted across the room, waving like he hadn't slept at all. I laugh and tell him, well, someone has to make sure this place doesn't accidentally catch fire before noon. He laughs back, that laugh that always sounds like he swallowed gravel, and says, "We triple-checked everything." Inside, the decorators are putting the final touches on the central floral arrangement. The head decorator, a woman with an air of precision and elegance, turns to me the moment she notices my footsteps. "Samantha, would you like us to adjust the lighting on the archway?" she asks, but again, I narrate it. She approached me with a clipboard hugged tight against her chest and asked if I wanted adjustments to the lighting. I smile and answer her, "Let me see it up close first." She leads me toward the arch, warm gold lights woven between autumn-toned flowers, burnt orange, deep red, and soft champagne petals. I inhale slowly. "This," I whisper in my narration. "This looks like something I never thought I'd see again." She tilts her head slightly, curious. She asks if something is wrong. I shake my head. "Not wrong. Just beautifully unfamiliar." She beams, relief washing over her. "We're honored to create this for you, Samantha." "And I'm honored you're here," I narrate aloud, before stepping away and heading toward the catering area. The chef is already there, my favorite in the city. A man whose confidence walks ahead of him by 2 steps. He waves a ladle like it's a sword and says, "Samantha, you're about to smell heaven." Again, I narrate it. He turned sharply the moment he heard my heels and raised the ladle like a trophy. I laugh. If heaven smells like roasted maple-infused turkey, then yes. I think I do. "Oh, it's more than that," he says, and he launches into one of his passionate monologues about flavor, texture, culinary storytelling. I swear, he could describe mashed potatoes like poetry. As he goes on, I nod thoughtfully and tell him, everything must feel warm. Familiar. Not pretentious. Just comforting. The chef softens. He lowers the ladle, nods, and tells me he understands completely. He adds, "Today is yours. So the meal will tell your story." I inhale deeply. "Then let it tell one of resilience." He gives me a firm, approving smile before returning to his culinary orchestra. I walk away, continuing my narration silently, my story. My Thanksgiving. My rebirth. My team gathers around me minutes later, some carrying checklists, others tablets. They all look eager, careful, proud. One of them asks, "Is there anything you want us to modify before the guests arrive?" I narrate the exchange, turning toward them with a gentle smile. "No," I say. "You've all done everything I hoped for, and more." Another chimes in, saying, "We just want today to be unforgettable for you, Samantha." I nod, feeling the sincerity like warmth against my skin. "It already is," I tell them. "Because I'm not stepping into this day alone. I'm stepping into it with all of you." And for a moment, my voice in the narration softens. Because I've never known what it felt like, this kind of loyalty, this kind of unity, this kind of chosen family. I breathe in the scent of fresh flowers, polished wood, cinnamon-laced pastries. And this time I don't feel like I'm missing something. I feel complete. I stepped onto the terrace overlooking the garden just as the morning sun rose, washing everything in gold. For a moment, I let myself breathe it in. This day, this whole celebration, it was mine. Not borrowed. Not tolerated. Not begged for. Truly mine. Before I could sink too deep into the moment, one of my assistants hurried toward me, her expression caught between excitement and panic. "Samantha," she said, slightly breathless, "the transport convoy just arrived. They're asking for final instructions on drop-off routes." I smiled at her sense of urgency, always so earnest. "Tell them to follow the original arrangement. Families at the main gate. Business partners at the east entrance. Investors at the garden pathway so they walk through the decor." She nodded fast, relief rushing through her face. "Got it, ma'am." Then she ran off. I walked back inside, feeling the soft music drifting from the speakers. The decorators were placing the final touches, adjusting ribbons, aligning candles, fluffing floral arrangements with the care of people painting the last strokes on a masterpiece. One of them, the head decorator, looked up and approached me. "Samantha, we added soft candles to the main tables. Do you want them lit before guests arrive or during dinner?" I ran my fingertips along the smooth edge of a table, taking in the amber-colored glasses and the delicate stems. Light them as the sun sets, I told her. I want the moment to feel like we're crossing into a new chapter. Her eyes softened. Perfect choice. She returned to her team. I stepped into the catering area next. Heat burst around me, crackling pans, simmering sauces, freshly baked bread cooling on racks. The chef stood at the center like a conductor leading a culinary symphony. He spotted me and waved me over. "Samantha," he called. "Come taste something." He presented a small plate like it was a treasure. I tasted it, just one bite, and warmth spread across my chest instantly. "This tastes like childhood," I whispered. "Like Christmas morning. Like quiet peace." His grin widened. "That's what I wanted, your story in flavors." "You're an artist," I told him. He chuckled and went back to ordering his brigade around, his booming voice echoing through the kitchen. For the first time in years, the holiday season felt safe. Like something I had earned. Then my phone vibrated. I glanced down at the screen and stilled. My cousin. One of the very few in the family who never turned her back on me. I answered softly. "Hey." Her voice came through uncertain, almost fragile. "Samantha. I just wanted to tell you something before it reaches you another way." I walked into a quiet hallway and closed the door behind me. "What's wrong?" She hesitated. "Your parents, they're hosting a Thanksgiving party today. A big one." I froze, quietly, gently. Not because I was shocked, but because familiarity can still sting. "I see," I said. "I think they're doing it to make a statement," she continued. "They're calling it a celebration of family unity. But, you know how they are." A bittersweet breath slipped from me. "A performance," I murmured. "A show." She sighed. "I didn't want you blindsided." "Thank you," I said. "And don't worry. Today isn't about them. Not anymore." There was a soft silence on her end, one filled with emotions neither of us could easily name. "I wish I could be there with you," she whispered. "You're invited," I told her. "Always. But I understand if it's complicated." "I'll try," she said. "I really will." When the call ended, I stood still for a moment, letting her words settle like dust in sunlight. So they were throwing their own Thanksgiving party. On the same day. Of course they were. But the strange thing? It didn't pierce me the way it used to. The wound no longer bled, it only remembered. I straightened my back, smoothing down the fabric of my dress, and whispered to myself. "This is my Thanksgiving. My story. My moment. No one gets to steal it." Then I walked back into the hall. Every decoration, every flower, every dish. Every detail was a piece of my healing stitched together by my own hands. I survived them. I outgrew them. And tonight, everyone would see it. The air inside the ballroom shifted the moment the doors opened fully. Light spilled through the tall windows like the morning had been waiting for this room in particular. My heels echoed on the polished floor, and for a moment, I felt like I was stepping into a version of my own future, one I had rebuilt with trembling hands and unbreakable resolve. "Ma'am, we're finalizing the florals on the east wing," one of the decorators said. His voice was warm but nervous, like he wasn't sure how I'd react. I smiled at him. "Show me." He guided me closer, and I breathed in the fresh scent of white peonies and eucalyptus. "It's beautiful," I said. "But bring the arrangement slightly lower. I want the guests to feel enveloped, not overwhelmed." "Yes, ma'am." "Right away." As he hurried off, I caught a glimpse of myself in the mirror-lined wall. The woman staring back didn't look broken, or betrayed, or forgotten. She looked awake. The chef approached next, tall, proud, and meticulous. "Ms. Reyes, the final tasting is ready. I hope you're hungry." "I'm starving," I answered, though hunger had nothing to do with food. He led me behind the curtain, where silver trays waited like promises. Steam curled into the air as he lifted the lids. Herbed salmon, garlic butter prawns, and a roast so tender it practically falls apart. You asked for comfort, elegance, and warmth in one spread. I hope this meets your standards. I picked up a fork. Chef, if this tastes as good as it smells, I might cry. He laughed. Then I'll consider the meal a success. The first bite melted on my tongue, soft, rich, warm. Perfect, I whispered. Absolutely perfect. His face relaxed. We'll prepare the full serving. As he walked away, the weight of everything hit me, how far I had come from the woman who used to shrink herself to make others shine. The one who kept forgiving betrayal because love had made her blind. That chapter was gone. Then, the head decorator approached once more. Samantha, do you want to see the final setup of the entrance arch? I followed him toward the large double doors. When he stepped aside, I froze. Soft golden lights weaved through white roses. Delicate curtains draped like silk clouds. A pathway leading inward like an invitation to rebirth. My breath caught. It's beautiful, I murmured. Thank you. He smiled gently. This is your night. It should feel like you. And it did. It felt like strength. It felt like honesty. It felt like finally coming home to myself. As the team dispersed for a brief break, I stood alone in the quiet room, letting the moment settle around me. I could still hear echoes of the woman I used to be, insecure, apologetic, always shrinking. But this version, she stood tall. She didn't wait to be chosen. She chose herself. And for the first time, the silence didn't feel empty. It felt full. Full of promise. Full of power. Full of a future that finally, belonged to me. I stepped back into the main hall where my team was adjusting the lights. Do we have the warm dimmer ready? I asked. Yes, Sam, Kara said. Want to see the effect? Please. The lights softened, bathing the entire room in a gold so gentle it felt like being held. A hush washed through the space, as if even the air was listening. It's perfect, I said. This is exactly the atmosphere I want. Kara nodded. This feels powerful, Sam. Like something meaningful is happening tonight. It is, I breathed. For the first time, I'm celebrating my own life, not someone else's position in it. One of the younger assistants approached me, holding a clipboard. Ms. Reyes, do you want to review the guest list again? My chest tightened. No, I said softly. Everyone who needs to be there already is. Everyone who stayed. Everyone who believed in me. Everyone who didn't break me even when they had the chance. The people who mattered. A vibration buzzed in my pocket, a message I already knew wouldn't be from him. I didn't even look at it. Instead, I walked toward the center of the ballroom. My fingers brushed the fabric of the tablecloths, the delicate glassware, the tall candles waiting to be lit. Each detail felt like a small victory. Kara walked up beside me. You okay? I nodded. More than okay. I finally feel like I'm not surviving. I'm living. She squeezed my arm. You deserve that. My throat tightened at the truth of it. For so long, I thought healing would feel like forgiveness, or forgetting, or pretending nothing happened. But it's simpler. What is it? She asked. Choosing myself, I whispered. Over and over. The last of the crew settled into their tasks, polishing, placing, adjusting, perfecting. The room glowed with the quiet magic of completion. The estate looked like something out of a dream, warm, glowing lanterns drifting gently in the garden air, soft music weaving between conversations, and long tables dressed in gold and ivory under the open sky. I stood at the entrance, watching the guests arrive one by one, feeling something strange swelling inside me, something like pride, something like relief, something like the long-awaited taste of freedom. The first to arrive were my core team, my warriors from years of sleepless nights. Boss. Daniel called out. His arms were already wide open as if inviting a hug. This place looks insane. I laughed lightly. You sound surprised. He grinned. I knew you'd go big, but, damn, Samantha. This is a whole kingdom. Beside him, Liza, my operations lead, nudged him. Behave, Daniel. We're guests, not construction workers tonight. I replied, speak for yourself. You built this empire with me. All of you deserve to shine tonight. Their faces lit up with a pride that filled me with warmth. They deserved this, every second of it. Soon after, more team members arrived, pairs, families, children. I greeted each one with hugs, with laughter, with little stories whispered about past projects we survived together. Then came our business partners and investors. Suits, elegant dresses, curious eyes taking in the spectacle. One investor, Mr. Collins, strode over, shaking my hand firmly. Samantha, you've exceeded all expectations. I smiled. I prefer exceeding them quietly. He chuckled. And loudly, it seems. I laughed. Maybe, just this once. When the last group of invited guests arrived, the garden was alive with energy and soft conversation. Glasses clinked. Laughter drifted across the space. Children ran, weaving between chairs. And for a brief moment, I felt life settling into a rhythm I never believed I deserved. I moved toward the table where the chef was standing with his staff, dressed sharply in black uniforms. He looked at me with that proud, fatherly gaze he always had in the kitchen. We're ready for service, he said. Thank you, I replied. I want tonight to feel like gratitude wrapped in flavor. He placed a hand over his heart. Then it shall. I walked through the tables, checking everything. Not because I doubted my team, but because I wanted to feel it. All of it. The moment. The air. The rebirth. Then Liza approached me again. Samantha, she said gently, it's almost sunset. Time for the candle lighting. I nodded. Do it. Within minutes, the tables were glowing softly, flames dancing like witnesses to a turning point in my life. The lights made people's faces warmer, kinder. And for the first time in a long time, I felt surrounded by something that resembled family. Not by blood, but by loyalty. By love earned, not demanded. A small cluster of investors approached me then, smiling. One of them, Mrs. Hernandez, said, Samantha, will you give a speech later? I chuckled under my breath. A short one. I promise not to bore anyone. She shook her head. I doubt you could even if you tried. I took a breath, letting the moment sink in, the glow, the calm, the soft hum of contentment rolling across the tables. If someone had told me 5 years ago that I would be here, hosting my own Thanksgiving, surrounded by people who truly valued me, I would have laughed. Or cried. Or both. Because 5 years ago, the only Thanksgiving I ever knew was one where I was an afterthought at a table that never felt like it belonged to me. I pushed the memory aside and focused on the present. Then my cousin arrived. She walked toward me slowly, hesitant at first. When she reached me, she whispered, You weren't kidding, this is stunning. I kissed her cheek. I'm glad you came. She squeezed my hand. I couldn't let you celebrate alone. A gentle, painful ache touched my chest, but a good kind. A healing kind. She glanced around the garden. Everyone looks so happy. This is the first Thanksgiving, I said softly, that feels like it was meant for me. She nodded. Then you deserve every second. As she walked toward the tables, I stood alone for a moment, letting the scene fill me. Wine pouring. Bread breaking. Soft jazz playing. Children laughing. Glasses lifting. It was everything Thanksgiving should have been, if my childhood had been different. But I wasn't mourning it anymore. I was replacing it. And for the first time, the replacement felt whole. I stepped forward, ready to begin the next part of the evening, my speech, my truth, my triumph. I walked toward the center of the garden, lifted a microphone, and waited as the gentle conversation slowly faded into silence. I took a breath. This was the moment I had built with my own two hands. And I was finally ready to speak. As the murmurs faded and the last guest settled into silence, I stood in the very heart of the garden, the soft golden candles flickering around me. The microphone felt warm in my hands, steady, grounded, almost alive. I took a breath, feeling the stillness of the moment settle on my shoulders like a cloak I'd waited my entire life to wear. "Good evening," I began. My voice carried cleanly across the garden, gentle yet firm. "First, thank you. Every single one of you. This night exists because you helped me build something that saved me." I saw my team exchanging looks, nostalgic, emotional, remembering the long nights, the deadlines, the failures, the small victories. I continued. "When I started my business, I didn't have support. I didn't have encouragement. I didn't have someone telling me, 'You can do it.'" A quiet ripple moved through the crowd. They knew I was sharing something delicate. "I only had one thing," I said softly. "Rejection." Somewhere near the center table, Liza covered her mouth, already emotional. "And for a long time," I continued, "I believed I wasn't worthy of being chosen. Not even by the people who were supposed to love me the most." It was strange speaking the truth so openly, liberating, yet aching. "But then life has a funny way of pushing you," I said. "Sometimes harshly. Sometimes painfully. And sometimes, beautifully." I smiled. "When doors closed, I built my own. And when those, too, were slammed in my face, I built walls. Strong ones. Walls that could hold an empire." There were soft chuckles, light, warm, encouraging. I let myself breathe. "And every brick of this company, every strategy, every failure, every risk." I touched my chest gently. "I built with my own two hands. And with these people, my team, who stood with me through every storm." I raised my glass slightly. "To my team. My family by choice." The crowd applauded, genuine, loud, full of affection. But I wasn't done. There were words I had carried like stones in my throat for years. "And tonight," I said quietly, "is my first Thanksgiving where I'm not waiting for someone else to make me feel included." A hush fell over the crowd again. "This is my Thanksgiving. The first one that's truly mine. A celebration of the people who saw me, who believed in me, even when my own blood refused to." The wind picked up gently, swaying the candles. "I learned a long time ago," I said, "that family isn't defined by shared DNA, but by shared loyalty." A few people nodded. Others wiped tears. Someone quietly murmured, "Beautiful." I took a breath to steady myself, because the next part was heavier. "For years," I said, "Thanksgiving meant pretending. Pretending I was happy to sit silently at a table where my absence would barely be noticed. Pretending I wasn't hurt when my efforts were ignored. Pretending I didn't hear the whispers comparing me to someone I could never win against." I paused. The silence was thick. "But tonight, I'm done pretending." My voice sharpened with a calm I barely recognized. "I am grateful, deeply, wholeheartedly grateful, that life forced me to become the woman I am now. And if being overlooked led me here, then I would endure it 1,000 times again." My cousin, seated near the back, covered her mouth, tears spilling down her cheeks. "And to everyone here," I said softly, "thank you for being part of the life I chose. The life I built. And the life I'm proud to live." I lifted my glass higher. "Happy Thanksgiving, to real love, real loyalty, and real beginnings." The garden erupted with applause, warm, loud, emotional. I smiled through the swelling in my chest. For a moment, I felt unstoppable. But then, something shifted. Someone at the far entrance whispered, "Who are those people?" A few heads turned. I followed their gaze, and my blood ran cold. There they were. My mother. My father. And my eldest sister, dressed like she was attending a private royal event, standing stiffly at the entrance, her husband beside her. I froze. Gasps scattered across the garden. Some guests exchanged looks. Others stared, unsure. I felt Daniel step closer to me, lowering his voice. Do you want us to escort them out? My heart pounded, not with fear, but with something colder. Sharper. No, I whispered. I'll handle it. I set the microphone down carefully, the applause long faded now, replaced by a heavy, suffocating silence. I walked, and every step felt like walking back into every wound I had ever stitched shut. The candles flickered. The music fell away. All eyes followed me. When I reached them, I stopped just a few feet away. My mother clasped her purse tighter. My father avoided my eyes. My sister stared at me with that same look she'd worn since childhood, a mix of entitlement and envy. My sister was the first to speak. Samantha, she said, forcing a smile. We heard you were hosting something tonight. We thought we'd stop by. My voice didn't shake. You weren't invited. Her fake smile faltered. Well, we're family. I lifted my chin. Family shows up before the success. Not after. A murmur rippled behind me. My mother stepped forward, clearing her throat. We wanted to celebrate Thanksgiving together. Is it so wrong that we came? I held her gaze, steady, unblinking. You never came to me when I was drowning, I said. But now that I've built something you can stand on, suddenly you remember I exist? Her expression tightened with offense. That's not fair. I cut her off with a calm so cold it could split stone. No. What wasn't fair was all those years you made me feel small. Invisible. Forgotten. My sister scoffed. Here we go again. Playing victim. I stepped closer, my voice a whisper sharp enough to draw blood. I didn't build this life to impress you. I built it because you left me with no one else to rely on. Her eyes narrowed. You think you're better than us now? No, I said softly. I think I finally stopped believing I was less. The silence that followed was suffocating. Behind me, the guests watched, some with shock, some with awe. My father finally spoke, his tone stiff. Samantha, stop making a scene. I laughed quietly, bitterly. You walked into my celebration. You created the scene. Not me. My sister lifted her chin, ready to throw another barb. But I'd already made my decision. This event, I said calmly, is for the people who lifted me. Not the ones who broke me. I stepped back. You need to leave. My mother gasped. Samantha. You need to leave, I repeated, clearer. Daniel and 2 staff members stepped forward, not touching them, not threatening, just waiting. My sister's face twisted in humiliation. Fine. This place isn't even that impressive. I met her eyes, calm as stone. Then it shouldn't be hard for you to walk away. And she did. Dragging my parents behind her, each of them glancing back with a blend of anger, disbelief, and a quiet regret they weren't brave enough to voice. When the gate closed behind them, I exhaled for the first time in what felt like years. Then I turned back to the garden, to the faces filled with concern, pride, loyalty, and something resembling love. I walked toward them, not shaken, not broken. But lighter. Free. If you want to walk with me through every betrayal, every victory, every scar that became my strength, then stay with me. Watch the full story, share it with someone who needs to remember their worth, and subscribe for more journeys like mine. Your support keeps these stories alive.